Okay, good morning. It is 6:42 a.m. Pacific time. Today is the 10th of January, 2020. It's Friday. Non-farm payroll. In case you missed it, let's see, came out at 145, which was slightly below the consensus and about 100,000, more than 100,000 lower than last month. So, bit of bearish news, but not that that's inhibited markets from moving in the past. So welcome to my trading journal. This is the Jigsaw day trader platform. These are futures products. This is all just trading on order flow. There's no charts. There's no indicators, anything like that. Very quickly from left to right, this is the Ultra Bond here on the left. This is the 30-year. This is the 5-year right here, almost in the middle. This is the 10-year right here, and this is the E-mini S&P. These are all fixed income products. These over here on the left, these four. So they move in concert with each other, and they typically move inverse to the equities, which is the E-mini over here. So when the E-mini is selling off, these should be going up, and vice versa. Very quickly, what I'm looking at right now in this very moment is a lot of absorption. Just got a back tick right there. We had sellers absorbing all the buying right here at even 0, 0, 0. So I'm going to go ahead and put an order in there. We just got a back tick. So that is a setup that John Grady uses all the time. I don't know if I'll get filled here at this point. We'll see. That's pretty much a classic absorption and backticking. We already have selling over here in the Ultra Bond, a 30-year. It's still kind of early in the cash session. It's only 15 minutes in, so you're going to see a little bit of volatility, but it is Friday, so I think once that abates after the first hour or two, I think, barring any news, it'll pretty much just kind of go dormant into the weekend. Everybody's kind of done their trading already. 1,000 in the queue at this point. We're getting this last, hopefully this last little push down into the lows in the ES. We just got filled. That's good. Let's see if we can get a move back to the point of control and the open. That's what I'm looking at right now. Let's see. The overnight action was just obviously pretty sideways. Everybody's just waiting for non-farm payroll. And then, let's see. I'll bring the chart over just so we can take a quick look, see what happens on non-farm. Everything just goes ballistic, and then it kind of just continues its previous trend. I'll just bring this over. So went sideways, came up, non-farm, down, up, and then it just continues this little grind up that it was doing previously. So it's a pretty typical move. But what it does is it blows out one or both of the of our obvious landmarks, which is an overnight high, high and low. So it blew through the high. So it kind of removes that as an area of interest. So then other areas of interest would be this, the previous high, the daily high. So like a double top. And then obviously the overnight low. So let's see, we're still hanging in this trade, gonna let it play out. Still seeing sellers at this level, that's good. just need buyers to step up over here in the E-mini so that it'll put some pressure on these guys to sell this thing down. I don't really like the ultra bonds making new highs on this move. So it's the 30-year. It's only so long that they can hold on here and continue to push this down. Don't want to see this number kind of start climbing at all. That would spell trouble and be a sign of a reason to scratch. Go ahead and level everything out. I didn't do that previously. My bad. I'm going to adjust this up a little bit. Go like that and like that. I think this thing's got some legs this morning. Especially if the ES catches a bid. This could sell down pretty quickly. Got the ultra bond starting to sell down, 30-year. Got a little breathing room. Keep an eye on this bid here. Hopefully it starts to just evaporate away. Get all the rest of these guys to start pulling off. Wow, some size came through there. Trying not to micromanage this thing, but I feel like we should have been a few more ticks in by now. Sellers are trying to push this thing down, but it's just not working. Just be patient, just let it play out. Okay, so you can see the DOM's starting to thin out a little bit. We had 3,000, 4,000 on, well, at least on the bid. And I'm looking at the calendar, and we have a wholesale trade announcement coming out. It's not indicated as a mover on my calendar, but the way that the DOM is kind of thinning out, it makes me sort of notice that people are taking off potential trades at this point. At least in the inside market here. I don't know if I should just flatten out this trade or if I should just try to weather it. Normally that's not a mover, like I said. It's just a line item on here. It doesn't have a big red flag next to it, at least on the calendar. But trade's been kind of a hot issue the last couple of years, so I don't know if it was once a non-issue and now it's something to pay attention to, or what. We'll see if we get any sort of reaction. So far, not a major reaction. It looks like we have consensus was 0, and we had negative 0.1. So pretty much unchanged. So hopefully that translates into continuation of this trade, getting the 10-year to sell down a little bit more. Everything's going in our direction thus far. We have Ultra Bond at the low of the move. Son of a bitch. 30-year still at the low of the move. ES is pushing higher. So far, so good. Just needs some continuation from sellers here. I think if we get down below 31, we might be onto something. I expected at least another tick here, if not 2 ticks by now. It's a little unnerving that we've only seen this thing fall in 1 tick basically. You could see the size start to come back into the DOM here. Just not getting any follow through from sellers. So we have basically the ES has traversed this entire range. It was pushing the lows when we got into this trade. Now it's pushing the highs, and we still have 0 movement here in the 10-year. That is very unnerving to me. That tells me that sellers just don't want to push this thing lower. So I'm debating a scratch here at this point, because I feel like as soon as this thing drops in, that'll give them an excuse just to push this through and just rip through all these, up through these stop orders that are up here. Seems like that's the plan at this point. Give it a little bit longer. What I don't want to do is get caught, not be able to get filled here. Still absorbing there. Still absorbing the buying at this level. Don't want to get caught in a situation where I can't get filled if this thing flips. Look at him just soaking up all those orders. Probably would have been a good day to trade the 30-year or the Ultra Bond. Screw it, man. I don't know. Should I just let it play out? This is the most difficult part. Just seems like we can't get any follow through from sellers. like I said, we should have been several ticks down in while this ES pushed all the way up. So I just think that correlation just isn't really there today, at least not with the 10-year. And of course, all that selling that was happening previously, all that absorption, it's just disappeared. We're sitting here at 1900 in the queue. All right, got scratched. I'm on the fence about it. I don't know. Probably could have let that play out. My risk was only 3 ticks. Not that big a deal. I hate scratching. It's one of those things you just really hate doing, but it's just, I don't know. This, like I said, just couldn't get sellers to step up and push this thing down anymore. That correlation just seemed to kind of break down during that trade. I'm not going to fall in love with it. Just move on to the next one, I guess. So just pause the video. Okay, we're back here. It's about 8:05 a.m. Definitely was the right move to scratch that trade down here. Initially, I thought I had made a mistake as sellers kind of pushed it down into 31 and 30.5, but buyers stepped right back in and just started marching this thing higher. I was eyeballing a short here in the 30-year, but that pretty much bought right, you know, they pushed that right through into highs, new highs for the day. I was kind of hoping we'd see some kind of abating by buyers with the 8 o'clock turn, but it doesn't look like that's really happening. In fact, I think they've kind of picked up the pace a little bit. So yeah, so really the only thing at this point would be looking at a short here in the 10-year, or trying to fade the 30-year down. Fade the 30-year back down. So I just wanted to pop on and kind of give an update, but it's Friday, like I said. I don't think, I think things are going to dry up pretty quickly here if they haven't already. So I don't know how much longer I'll be hanging around, but that's where we're at this point. So I'll start the video up again if anything happens. Okay, it's almost 8:30 a.m. The buying enthusiasm has continued pretty steadily. You could see the 30 years up here blew through the previous high. Sellers tried to push it down here, and you could see the buyers just step back in and kind of pushed it up again. Really only kind of trade I see here is maybe you can buy a pullback, air quotes, if you can determine where a pullback would be, I guess. That's kind of be looking at a chart, I guess. The other thing I was kind of eyeballing was that as the ES pushes down into the lows, the 10-year is going to get up into the previous high up here at 4.5 and 5. So as we get a bounce from the ES going back up higher, maybe sellers would step in and start to push this thing down. I also saw a little bit of volume developing here at 21 and a 30-year. So that might enable a couple ticks back down into the previous high, 1817, just to scalp out a few ticks. So that's kind of what I'm looking at this point. We'll see what happens here as the ES starts to go into the lows. Still pretty much just sitting on my hands at this point. I was really hoping the buyers would just kind of take the weekend off at the 8 o'clock turn, but it doesn't look that way. Really starting to stretch up, get pretty thin here in this 30-year profile and the ultra bond. I think the big thing is just the 10-year getting up into the previous high and seeing what the reaction is at that point. It's funny because I was looking at the ultra bond previously, and I think we were trading around 12, 13, 14, and I almost said just buy it because you know this thing's just going to keep plowing higher. Just not very comfortable with that kind of trade, like a breakout trade I guess it would be, but I mean if I had done that, I was this close. It's just not really my MO, I guess, so it'd be outside of my comfort zone, not part of my quote-unquote trading plan. But that would have been a pretty nice little 8-tick winner. Okay, so the ES is in the lows. Pretty steady selling over there thus far. We're getting into the previous high of 05, 4.5, 05 on the 10-year. So I'm eyeballing the 10-year, seeing what the reaction is there, but I'm also most likely to trade the 30-year, and that's really because of the kind of the context of the situation. If I was going to fade this back down, it would be on the 30-year. It's because it's Friday, getting close to a time when people are going to, like I said, go home for the weekend. So I went ahead and jumped in here at 23 on the 30-year. Might have been a little premature. Just counting on the ES bouncing up higher. Trying to get a few ticks, scalp a few ticks out. I think this was a little premature. I'd like to see a little bit more volume start to develop. I'll be pretty quick to cover this trade. Things don't start to pan out. And that's really just because of the enthusiasm of buyers at this point. And yeah, and if the ES doesn't start plowing back up higher, they've been buying it for the last, every day for the last several weeks. There's no reason to stop buying it now. Yeah, this is 10 years at the highs of the day. Let's see what kind of reaction thus far. No selling. Yeah, this is not good. Hopefully get some sort of a pushback. Maybe we can get like just a 1 tick loss. Come on, push it back. Let's go. Up, making new highs in the 10-year. Not good. Come on. I was just about to take a loss on that. Just about to cover that at 25. Come on, push it down. Okay, got a scratch on that one too. But that's it for me. Pretty much a worthless day. Just paying commissions. Fuck, of course it drops in. Yeah, well, I'm moving on to bigger and better things, so no harm, no foul. Have a good weekend, everybody.